I'll begin this comparison with all the things wrong with the remake. And yes, I am going to spoil it because it's so shit it pissed me off that it deserves to be torn to pieces. This remake is a sickening sacrilege. And then I will tell you why the original with Brandon Lee is so much better. The first thing I will remind you is that The Crow is a superhero story based on the graphic novel. There has to be action. There has to be a compelling story. We naturally want the hero to win. I'll get back to this again and again and you'll see why. In the remake, there is no world building. It's all bland, there is no style, there is no sense of the kind of world they live in. The relationship, if you call it that, between Eric, the main character, and his girlfriend Shelley is forced and unconvincing. There is nothing deep. Nobody forms an intimate relationship like that so quickly, and yet we are supposed to believe that they are in love. That fails badly. In short, they are drug addicts who meet in rehab and escape, a rehab with a laughable security system that they escape so easily. The whole point of this was to make the audience emotionally invest in the characters so that when the bad guys kill them, we can feel enough anger and hatred towards them that we want them to die. But this remake fails that badly because we don't care about the characters. They are unlikable, so when they do die, we don't care. The dialogue is bad. There are lines that I thought that were just plain ridiculous. It makes the whole thing feel unnatural and forced. The moments that are meant to be intimate are rushed. There is no chemistry, for lack of a better word. The couple felt unconvincing throughout. The pacing is horrifically slow. It was boring. I couldn't wait for it to end. It took about 30 minutes or so to build up a backstory for the couple, which fails miserably. Despite all this, they are still not likable characters. I did not care for them. By the time they are killed, we are unmoved because we just don't care about them. We are not given a chance to invest in them. Remember, this is supposed to be a superhero movie, and so far we had no action and no character development in order for us to care. After the deaths of the main characters, the action sequences are few and far between. There is no reason to keep you interested. Oh yeah, spoiler alert, Shelley is a murderer, which makes her detestable. You see, the villain is a crime boss with some weird demonic power that controls people. He whispers into people's ears and possesses them. That makes no sense whatsoever. That has nothing to do with the source material. It was lame. He even uses the same power to get her friend and her mum to kill themselves. I mean, hold on. I read the graphic novel years ago and I don't remember anything like that. And yet, the director expects us, the audience, to care about Shelley in the remake. You will not convince anyone to sympathize with a murderer. This is disrespectful to the original Crow movie. And this is also disrespectful to James O'Barr, who drew and wrote the Crow graphic novel, the source material. It gets worse. In the remake, Eric convinces some guy in purgatory that he will sacrifice his own life just to bring her back from the dead so that she will live, but he won't be with her. She gets to live while he spends eternity in purgatory. That is not how the Crow works. The whole point of the Crow is that it brings people back from the dead in order to carry out justice, to right wrongs in order for souls to move on into heaven. The Crow is about all the pain and sadness that keeps one's soul from crossing over into heaven until it is resolved. There is a positive message behind it. We cannot spend our lives dwelling on loss and pain because it prevents us from moving on. That is what I think the Crow represents. The Crow is a spiritual animal. But in this trash of a movie, the Crow has been reduced to some demon that can be bargained with. The actor, Bill Skarsgård, is awful. There is nothing compelling about this actor because we don't care about him. This is the same clown who acted as Pennywise the dancing clown in the It remake. He couldn't even be a clown, so what makes anyone believe he's good at anything? The acting of the rest of the cast sucks just as badly. The soundtrack is bad too. There is nothing memorable, no catchy tracks, no artists to stand out. The music is another layer of blandness. Overall, the Crow remake is trash. Now, this is the part where I move on to why the original Crow movie is better. I grew up watching the original, and I can go on and on about how good that film is. The film doesn't waste time, it gets on with the story straight away. In the original, Shelley is Eric's fiancée. The fact that they were about to get married shows the closeness they had, so when they are killed, it makes the story even more tragic. They come across like they have known each other for years. That is deep. That makes me care about them. You feel their innocence. We learn more about them through brief flashbacks, which reminds us why we care about the characters and why we like them. You feel bad for them because they didn't deserve what happened to them. They were just an innocent couple who get burgled and then murdered, and worst of all, the girl gets beaten and raped. The point is, Eric and Shelley are an innocent couple who are victims of the cruel world they were living in. Speaking of which, we are given the sense of the world this movie takes place in. The city is dark and gothic. It's a run-down neighborhood. Throughout the movie, the feel of this atmosphere is consistent. The Gothic architecture of the empty cathedral is fitting. It indicates a decadent society. The characters and the atmosphere match. As the movie progresses, we get to know Eric the superhero more. For example, he has fun whilst being dead. When he throws himself off a building and lands on trash, he laughs about it. It gives us a sense of the character he is. He is a daring badass. This makes him even more likable hero. He's not some miserable emo. There are moments like this in the movie that makes you chuckle with admiration. The way he taunts the bad guys is comical. There is a balance here. That's why Brandon Lee's performance is the best. This also goes to show what a good actor Brandon Lee is. He emits a range of emotions throughout the film. Go and see for yourself. From here, I will extend the rest of the casting is solid and everyone plays their role really well. We get emotionally invested in them. The dialogue is so well written that the characters have memorable quotes. One little touch worth mentioning here is even a crow takes out one of the bad guys. I have to say, that part is satisfying. In the original Crow movie, Eric has supporting characters. We have Ernie the cop who stayed with Shelley until she died, and we have Sarah, the kid who Eric and Shelley looked after. That way, our protagonist is not entirely alone in his quest for revenge. There is a sense of a warm friendship between them, which is nice. Again, this is a superhero movie. There are meant to be action sequences, so in this movie, they are well spaced out throughout. The original has practical effects and stunts that still look good to this day, let alone the cinematography. Overall, it's a well-made film. On top of that, the soundtrack is one of the best in the world. It fits the atmosphere of the movie perfectly. The rock music fits into the world, the crow, and complements the superhero. It's fitting because Eric is the guitarist of a rock band. In the film, he plays with the guitar. It's the icing on the cake. To conclude this video, I would like to make 2 recommendations. Firstly, I recommend you go and read the graphic novel. James O'Barr is a brilliant writer and artist. In fact, he is another person who inspired me to write and draw my own graphic novels. Secondly, this is also worth an honorable mention, is The Crow, City of Angels, which came out in 1996, which is a sequel to The Crow. Even that is better than this god-awful remake. My verdict on that one is a definite watch it. The remake, do yourself a favor and give it a miss. Don't watch it. The original, watch it. Rest in peace, Brandon Lee. You legend. You will never be forgotten. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this has been useful to you. Take good care of yourselves.